What's up, y'all? So in this video, we're going to be talking about why you should be treating your emotions like children. And for me, this mind state shift was one of the greatest ones I've ever had in my years of self-improvement and self-development. And the reason why I say this is because I truly believe that mastering your emotions are the key to mastering your reality, or at least one of the most important ones, because oftentimes in today's society, and as it's been for humanity, we are ruled by our emotions. Our emotions color our life, they add vibrancy and energy to everything that we do, and without them, a lot of the things that we do on an everyday basis would sort of feel meaningless. Now in today's time, especially with the options of so much instant gratification, as well as I think the lack of timeless learning structures that help us understand how to master, understand, and make space for our emotions, there is a lot of chaos in this world from an energetic perspective because we don't have the know-how of how our emotions affect us and how we can then control them. I believe that understanding your emotions is no different than taming a wild horse. They can run free and roam wild, but until you get it under control, they can rule your reality in a way that feels unmanageable if you don't understand what to do. Even if you look at ancient mythology, like biblical mythology or common tropes in storytelling and writing, there are concepts that really encapsulate what emotions are, as in the fruit of the spirit in biblical mythology: love, patience, peace, kindness, joy, right? I think gratefulness and self-control, as well as the 7 sins, which are gluttony, greed, jealousy, envy, even rage, and all those things, right? These frameworks for emotions give an understanding that they are timeless principles that follow us through life. As long as we are human, we will feel. As long as we are human, we will have sensation. And oftentimes there's nodes that our physical reality emerges as in terms of sensation, in terms of thinking, and in terms of how we live in an everyday reality. And so what I've seen for myself, and I think for many others, is that we are kind of deadbeat parents when it comes to our emotions. Now, you might be asking, what does that mean? How can we be deadbeats for our emotions? What I mean for that is we can have a sort of favoritism towards the emotional states that we want to live in, but also have almost an egoic perspective on how they should emerge in our reality. We often only want to be happy. We only want to feel a certain sense of excitement or joy. And we tend to look for these things. We tend to become so addicted to feeling these emotions that we look for them in almost unnatural ways, right? We always want to feel happy. We always want to feel excited. And so if we can't do that, which is natural because we have a wide spectrum of emotions to choose from, we'll look for it in external ways, by shopping, for some via drug use, for some people in relationships, or consuming forms of media. We are addicted to certain types of feeling, and we love to ignore and repress the others because they don't feel as good. And I think what tends to happen with emotions is that they're almost really good illusions and almost very good boogeymen. In terms of, if you look at a puppet show, right, and you put a light behind an object and you see it emerge on the sheet or the screen, it looks a lot bigger than reality than it really is. Like in The Wizard of Oz, when the wizard came out as this big, magnanimous figure of power and magic. But when you pulled aside the curtain and really got to the reality of it, it was nothing but a scared man putting on a show. And I think when you have really powerful emotions like anger, fear, embarrassment, if you don't understand the core of them and really pull behind the screen and have a day-to-day understanding of your emotional states, they can feel so much larger than life, and like that wild stallion, feel almost impossible to control. And so one thing that really changed the paradigm of how I go about my day, and by the way, I'm still a work in progress, and I see that as a great thing, because if you're not growing, you're decaying. And I think that oftentimes when we have such a crystallized state, whether it be of our sense of self or emotions, we don't allow ourselves to be what we truly are, which is human beings, right? We are both the flower and the gardener, having to cultivate ourselves, but also experience cultivation on this plane. And so I feel that by not allowing yourself to be that, you miss out on most of the point of what I feel, and based on my learnings and books and all that, what people tend to say humanity and living a human life is about. And so to get back into it, right? Your emotions, the ones that we neglect, are, I think, the most powerful ones that we have at our disposal. Fear is a hell of a drug. Anger is a powerful tool. Embarrassment, humiliation, shame, these are huge emotions that cause people, especially when repressed, to do wild things. We've seen it through history in terms of big things, really big things, genocide, war, the crimes of humanity that we commit against our own brothers, right? We do these things as a culmination of multiplied and repressed emotion that then explode on a huge plane in this physical reality. But we also do amazing things as well, right? When we see how, say for instance, that stat that people talk about when a mother, there was I think a story of a mother who, when she saw that her baby was, I think, either trapped in the car or under the car, or the car was on fire, she got the strength to lift an entire 2-ton vehicle up with the strength of her body because of her fear, love, and desperation to save her child, right? Emotions can make us superheroes if we truly understand it. And so you might be wondering, okay, I get it. They're really powerful. They allow us to do great things, but like, what is the point? Because this seems kind of a little bit too good to be true. Why are emotions necessary to live a human life? Why is understanding and embodying a masterful state of your emotions necessary to live a great life? I believe that emotions are also signals, right? They are conduits for understanding your day-to-day reality. I think that especially your negative emotions get a very bad rep in your mind, right? I feel like fear, on the other side of fear, lets you know probably what you truly desire or you truly hope doesn't come to pass. And by really getting to core of what you feel in terms of fear, it allows you to really understand your desires on a deeper level and really get to know what drives you in a primal way. I think fear is one of the most deceptive, tricky, mischievous archetypes of emotions, oldest emotion that exists in this reality. It will use other things like ignorance to multiply. It will use deception as a tool to enact what it needs. And it can sound almost so rational, you think it has a PhD in convincing you to do what it wants by the time you understand that, oh, I'm just scared of that thing. It is, again, a hell of a drug. It is one of the most powerful illusions and such a whirlpool of sensation that really getting to know your fear, I think, is the key to actually unlocking all the other ones. Another one would be, for instance, your anger. One thing I found for myself is that anger is almost like a brush fire, clearing the path to understanding the ways that you feel like you've been trodden on, is an immense weapon. And I think that the reason why it gets such a bad rap is that oftentimes when we see modern day media, anger is usually a tool in a villain's hands. It's usually a tool used by a villain or a bully, I meant to say, to enact a sort of power dynamic that represses people who may not be able to defend themselves, vulnerable communities, people who are ignorant to their own inner power. Anger is used as a sword to cut down people. But I believe that all emotions are just tools. It's all in how you use it, not what it is to use it. So what I mean is that you can have a knife, right? And a knife can be used to cut wood, to make fire, to warm you. It can be used to cut food, to put in a dish to feed you. But it also can be used to stab somebody, to harm somebody, to stick up somebody for a robbery. It's not in the knife. The knife is not the issue. Your anger is not the issue. Your fear is not the issue. It's what you use. It's how you use the tool that then determines the results of it as well. And I think on the opposite end of the spectrum, with less negative emotions and more positive emotions, we tend to lean on our positive emotions too much and use them as a crutch to feel a sense of peace and fulfillment in our daily life. There is a great book, and I'll have to do a video on it alone, called Psycho-Cybernetics. And I've mentioned it in another video that one of the core themes I took from it was that happiness is a choice, right? It's a mind state, meaning that it's built off of your decisions of how you perceive your reality, rather than it being some sort of concrete reality that you have to step into or find on an everyday basis. It's not some sort of magic pot at the end of the rainbow. It is as close to you as your breath is to you. And so I think often in today, though, because we have not done the foundational work of making a life that drives us, even when it's not happy, when it's not the most easiest, when it's difficult, we tend to look for these emotional states like joy, excitement, arousal of senses as a way to hide from the work that is in our daily reality. And so I think that we look for it in relationships, we look for it in the foods we eat, we look for it in the media we consume, we look for it in more extreme cases in the drugs that we consume, alcohol. We look for these things to imbue our lives with a sense of emotional upheaval that we feel we can't get when our emotions feel flat. And so I think it is when you intake anything, your dopamine levels rise to the level of the next highest. I use drug, quote unquote, because anything can be a drug if it's an overindulgence of consumption, right? So when I say drug, I'm not specifically referencing directly to drug use, so that is a way to do that. Food can be a drug, alcohol can be a drug, coffee can be a drug, people can be drugs. We sort of try to tap into this energetic state via the things that we consume. And by an overindulgence of these things, we reset our dopamine meters to need a next level of high to be able to tap back into that level of happiness. And so I think that by overindulging or trying to achieve positive emotions 24/7 and never really allowing yourself to look into the deep closet of your mind for the negative emotions and face them, we create this imbalance of emotions that make us discombobulated. It makes us feel unhinged, and you never really get to master all that you are because you're only really tapping into maybe 10 to 15% of your emotional state. And even then, it's from a perception of, I only can allow myself to tap into the state. I think one thing that really comes from allowing yourself to feel the full range of emotions and being curious about your emotions is that you don't need them to do the things that you want to do. There is this video that I watched from a content creator named Leo Skepti on how he was talking about he was going to the gym and he was in the mood. He felt bored. He was unhappy. It was dark. He was moody. He was like, I really don't want to go. But he said to himself that he was going to let himself feel the suck and do it anyways. And I think oftentimes we see it from one perspective to be like, no matter what, be disciplined, hustle, do whatever. It doesn't matter how you feel. F how you feel. Go ahead and do it. But I think a more lovely way to think about it as well is to be like, there is freedom in letting yourself feel whatever you want and getting done the things you need to get done. Treating your emotions like children, right? You might have to iron your clothes that day, pay a bill, go to work, but your baby is crying. So rather than ignore your baby and be a neglectful parent, by picking up your child and sort of patting on the back and saying, oh, I know you're scared, or I know you're angry, you can just go about your day. The baby's crying. You're like, yo, yeah, sorry, Mary, I'm on my way to work. Baby's crying, but I'll be there soon. You get done what you need to get done and allow yourself to be an adult while still nursing your emotional state. And so you can be more of a present parent with yourself because you allow yourself to feel what you want to feel. And I think it lets you rest. It can be kind of neurotic and energy draining to constantly feel like you only can have one state of emotion, especially when that emotion can be as fleeting as a cloud in the sky. It's a lot easier for you to tap into your negative emotions, right? You could probably remember the last time you felt angry, the last time you felt frustrated. You're probably frustrated today. But to feel happy, it's almost more rare to feel consistently. And I think by having a general state of fulfillment you tap into and an understanding for your negative emotions, it allows you to enjoy happiness and joy as it comes in and out your life, like a dance on the dance floor or a glass of wine at the end of the day. Indulging in it, moderately. Not to say you can't be happy on an everyday basis, but what I mean is have the glass of wine, but don't glug it and get bottles and have it clink in your room because you're obsessed with only feeling that one way. Right? Because then happiness becomes a drug and it goes from a mind state to an obsession, right? But if you allow yourself to feel upset, if you allow yourself to feel angry and use it as a signal of the decision that you need to make on an everyday basis, it allows you to have more freedom in the wide range of expression that you have on an everyday level and allows you to rest more in yourself. So I feel that by allowing your emotions to be used as signals in your body, by nurturing them, making space for them, and treating them like your kids, and by also seeing them as tool sets to better understand yourself and your reality, you really unlock a state of mastery within yourself that allows you to then really control the actions, thoughts, and perceptions that you have about this world that feel more readily available to you than not doing those things. And if you got to this video, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the content and you like these frameworks and sort of mindset and lifestyle frameworks I'm posting, subscribe as I'll be making more of these and seeing this YouTube channel as a way to build my skill set in communication, teaching in a sense, and also just connecting and giving the frameworks that I wish that I had when I was younger, but I'm living them now, so it's not really a regret thing, but more like I think that for anyone, it's a good refresher and reminder of these timeless principles. But if you're in a state where you're learning these things for the first time, I want to package them in a way that feels almost like adult VeggieTales, where over time, through the different levels I have with growing my channel and growing my skill set in making these videos, they become not only educational, but entertaining and immersive, frameworks that you can kind of revisit when you need that reminder, or you need a different perspective from a different type of, I say teacher, but really we're kind of pure scientists, pure artists, pure workers in creating lifestyles that suit us all. So more teaching the game that I find useful to me, as well as I always love that you guys post in the comments as well and interact with each other, because I think that you can learn from everybody and everything, and that by making this community a more cohesive, flowing together vibe where each one teach one, there's so many things that we can learn from each other that just come by sharing your ideas and perspectives on what you're learning in your own life. So there'll be more to come. I will probably end up redoing all these videos. Definitely will be end up redoing all of them in level 2, but I find like these are timeless principles and I just want to get better and better at sharing them with you all. If you enjoyed, subscribe, like, comment, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.